Okay, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here. Nice to see you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for finding us here. Oh my gosh, you know what? The live streams have been fine for so many weeks, and all of a sudden, you press go and it just doesn't work. In any case, okay, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being here. I can see you here. Let me get my notes up so I can see what I was going to talk about today. And then we can talk some more. So you can see my camera all of a sudden died this morning at exactly the minute when I hit go. And so now we are going to do this from my laptop camera, which you can see is right here. Hello. Thank you guys so much for being here. Okay, it's an exciting day. So fantastic. Thank you guys for being here. What we are going to do today, this is the live stream that we do for Taking Back Friday. This happens the second Friday of every month. We come here every month and we talk about stuff to do with the fiber arts. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia. Hello. Welcome. Thank you if you guys have never been here before, and welcome back if you've been here before. And yeah, I wanted to talk about these Friday videos. Now, we have been making videos for YouTube on almost a weekly basis since 2007. And you guys might have noticed that in the past month or so, it's been a little bit tricky to get some videos up. And so I have not done any like really super full length videos for a couple of weeks now. And part of the reason is I'm going to share with you is just that this past month in April has been very, very busy. We've been really busy at the studio. We've been busy filming a lot of things for the School of SweetGeorgia. And so one of the things that we have been filming is a class on rigid heddle weaving with Amanda Wood. She's a local weaving instructor here. She teaches all of our rigid heddle classes for the School of SweetGeorgia. And she's been teaching us a class using the rigid heddle loom to use two heddles and a number of pickup sticks in order to do double weave on a rigid heddle loom. So that is weaving two layers of cloth at the same time, whether they are joined on one side, joined on two sides, open on two sides. It's weaving two separate layers of plain weave cloth on a rigid heddle loom. And so this seems like a crazy, very complicated thing to do, but Amanda breaks it down really, really well. She has really great illustrations. We got in really close with the filming to be able to see what was going on with all the different heddles. And so really, really looking forward to being able to share that with you guys. The other thing that happened in April is that Tabitha, our design director, she came to visit us from Tennessee. And so we are way over in Vancouver, and it's been years since we've had a chance to get together and see each other. And so she came out to the studio to see our studio for the very first time, but also to film a couple of classes with us. So one of the classes that she filmed with us is one that was requested after I had made a sock video last October about knitting two socks at the same time, two socks, two at a time socks, TAAT. And so Tabitha came to film a class teaching you how to knit two socks at the same time using the magic loop method. And she also filmed a second class, which is all about becoming a professional knitwear designer. Like if you are interested in learning how to write your own patterns, publish your own patterns, what is involved with that? What do you need to do to find a tech editor, to, write the pattern instructions, to make the charts and graphs, to publish this, to take photos of it, all of the things that you need to know in order to become a knitwear designer, she's put together into this course. So really, really excited to be able to share that with you guys as well. Now, this has been also a very busy couple of weeks because I just got back from the Erlbacher homecoming and Crank-In. So I'd mentioned before I was going to this Crank-In event. It is all the way over in Missouri. So I travel over there, do the Crank-In for a couple of days, and then came back. So I'm going to talk more about what I learned there. I do have a whole other video coming about that as well. But that is something that's been keeping me quite busy as well. And then finally, I'm actually leaving today for another trip, and this one is just with my family. And so this one is with grandparents and with kids and all these kinds of things. And so we're going to be busy for the next week or so as well. And so it's a lot of stuff going on right now, but I do have lots more videos planned. We want to make sure that we're making videos that are just really helpful to everyone. And so making sure that we're picking the right topics and picking topics that are going to help you and things like that. So we're always interested to hear what you guys want us to make videos about. So if you have suggestions and ideas about things that you would like to learn about from us, then please do feel free to put it all in the comments in the chat. I'm looking at all the comments as we go here, and yeah, it's good to see. Um, yeah. Ruth. Oh, yes. There's so many resources out there for budding designers. I had to figure out a lot of stuff this hard way. Yeah. Ruth also worked together with Tabitha as well. In the past couple of years to do a lot of knitwear design and learning a lot about those kinds of things. So yeah, it's just been a really busy time. It's been it's been a really busy time. So yeah, we do have more things coming up. Now, one of the first things that I wanted to share with you, well, so one of the things that I was going to make a video about, and I haven't had a chance to because it's not done. The name of the title of the video is supposed to be Finished Stoodley, but you can see that my Stoodley is currently in pieces, nowhere close to being finished. And so I can't really show this to you yet, but you can see this is some color work that I've been doing on the knitting machine. And so that is what we want to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about color work and things that are happening in terms of color and what we're doing. So I don't know if you guys have been on the Sweet Georgia website recently, but there have been a number of really great blog posts that have been coming out from both Ruth, who's on the chat here, and also Tabitha, who've been writing a lot about colors, color work, choosing color combinations, how to choose color for your skin tone, all sorts of different things. You guys will know that we started making this color system this past year. I have, yeah, you can see here. This is a little picture of our color system here. And so these are the elixir colors that we have been working on. And so these are all mid-tone, beautiful, nuanced, kind of like really mellow kind of colors. And then in the springtime, we released all of these colors, which are the lighter versions of those colors. So lighter versions to give a little bit more contrast. And so now we're kind of playing with the light and the mid-tone. And you guys will probably expect that in the fall, we're going to have the deeper tones coming out. And so we're playing a lot with, mixing and blending all of those colors that are very complementary to each other. They work really well together. But now we're looking at like, how do we work with the lighter colors? How do we work with the darker colors? How do we mix them together? And so that's what this Stoodley sweater has been about. This blue color is actually called Tempest, and it's the deeper version of our Stormy Night color. And then here I have my favorite yellow right now is just called Honey Gold. I love the yellow, but I have tried on a sweater that's fully honey gold colored sweater, and it doesn't look great on me, that particular color of yellow. There are other yellows that really work really well, but this color, I love it. And this is the way that I can mix and combine it with other things to make it work for me. So I still get to play with the yellow, but I mix it with other colors that work better for me. So this brown rusty color, this is called Bright Penny. This is also coming out in the fall. And that color I wear a lot of. I have full sweaters in this kind of dark rust color. That works for me. Mixing it with the touch of yellow also is working for me too. So I'm really excited about this particular sweater as it comes together. This yarn happens to be the BFL and Silk Fine. And I've knitted on the machine and then I washed it. So I blocked it. So it's been blocked flat so that way all of the color work is lying flat. And you can see what it looks like on the inside. You can see long floats. There must be a way of minimizing long floats on a knitting machine, but I have not really done that because I've been doing everything kind of quick and learning and stuff like that. So that is the Stoodley sweater that I have been working on. We have also, I wanted to show you some other colorwork experiments that I'm playing with. So again, this is that bright penny color, that rusty color. I love this color. I could wear entire sweaters in this color. I love it. But this is a little color work cowl. This is knit flat on the flatbed machine, but it's actually a hand knitting pattern that I converted. And so I believe this one could be knit in the round, but I just knit it flat back and forth. But you would seam it together at the end, and then you have this color work cowl. So that is what it looks like on the outside. Right now, that's what it looks like on the inside, and so on. And so this one, because I just created the little punch card for it, it's really, really easy to pop in a few more colors and then zip out another sample. So that's something that's going to be fun to play with as well. So I've been doing these ones on the machine, but there are other things that you can definitely knit by hand. All of these things could be knit by hand. Yeah, the knitting machine gives such good tension between the colors. I think so as well. I think that you still need to manage a lot of things with the knitting machine and watch for a lot of things. I feel like I'm really like much more concentrated when I'm working on the knitting machine. Um, I think it's yeah, there's a lot of things to look at, especially there's so many needles and you have to make sure that all the latches are open and everything is working. Uh, but it's super fun. I've been really, really loving it. Now, did want to share with you guys this pattern right here for, oh, you can see I have no camera right now because the camera died. So yeah, here is the Grello pattern that we published a while back with Tanis Gray. And so that color work, you can see how bold and how high contrast that color work is here is really, really lovely. And so this is like Grello colorway with the gray, the light gray and a dark gray, and then the yellow, the pop of yellow. So I really, really love this color work pattern. But what we were doing is right now, this month of May, we're going to do something at Sweet Georgia called the Color Along, which is basically a make along, knit along, craft along, whatever you want to make, working with colors and just playing with colors, trying a bunch of different things, experimenting with a bunch of different things. And so that Grello pattern, yes, is super cool. It has a really interesting motif to it. And then we recreated it with different colors. So you can see it's a completely different effect. By just changing the colors out, you get something completely different. And so we changed out the darker gray for this sort of red, sort of oxblood kind of color. And then the light gray we swapped out for this sort of pale pink color. And then there's still yellow gold in here, this honey gold in here as well. But if you wanted a more high contrast colorway, you could pick high contrast colors. If you wanted something a little bit more mellow and more like subdued, then you could pick colors that blend a little bit more together. So even here, the yellow and the pink, they kind of like, you can barely see, but you can see that there is some color coming and going and coming and going, but it's not sharp contrast. Sometimes maybe you don't want super sharp contrast to your color work. Maybe you want a much more mellow effect, but it's neat because it still produces like this really fun color work pattern. So I was saying, using the knitting machine, because you can do so much experimentation so quickly, what I was hoping to do was to sort of make a punch card of this pattern and then just zip out a bunch of samples. However, I think when you look at the actual chart, it's not a repeat of 12 or 24 stitches. I think it's something like 14 stitches. I can't remember exactly the chart. But because it's not an exact multiple of 12, I can't make it into a punch card for the punch card machine. If you had like an electronic machine where you could program it using that design and knit, then you could pop in all the patterns that you need and then have that come out on your machine. But I don't have an electronic machine. And so the other way that you could do it is to do the color work manually, do manual color work on a machine. And so that involves basically picking and choosing the needles that you want to come out. And so you would pull those forward and then you would knit across with one color and then you would select all of the opposite needles and then you would knit across with the other color for that one row. So it would be 2 passes for every one row of knitting. So you would knit one with color A and then one time with color B. And then that's how you would produce the pattern. So I was thinking about trying this during the color along when I get back from our travels and everything, but just working with that LK150, which is the super manual, very, very basic knitting machine, and then just playing with manual color work, pulling out the needles that you need in order to create the patterns that you want. And it just gives us a really quick and easy way to experiment with a lot of different color combinations. We just have so many ideas for the color combinations. And then you make yourself a super cozy, cozy cowl. You can wear this doubled, but yeah, it's really nice and warm. This one happens to be on, this one happens to be superwash worsted. So it's really cushy and cozy. So that is the color work stuff that is going on. So Grello is one of the patterns. Now, if you guys want to join us for the color along, it starts May 16th and goes until May 31st. And it's basically, yeah, just celebrate with whatever you want to do that is color work. So you can see we're going to have all of our conversation and our chat and share what we're doing in our Discord channel. So let me just quickly show you where that conversation is. So we have it here on here in our Discord channel. We are having a conversation in our color along channel, which is here. Right now, we're just talking about it in the general channel as well. But if you have not yet joined our Discord server, you can join, and then it's a great place to just post your chat, post photos about what you've been making, what you're working on, and everything like that. And so Tabitha is hosting this color along, and on Tuesday, May 16th, when it actually starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's going to go and we're going to do sort of like a voice chat on Discord. So you can turn on your camera, you can say hi, you can just meet everybody in person. And that would be something really fun to do as well. So that is available. Encourage you guys to join the Discord for that. And all the conversation is going to happen in here. And now, what am I going to make for that color along? The color along, I am going to try some of that manual fair isle on the machine, but I also have been looking at this for like the longest time. This is the Easy V, which is a pullover sweater designed by Caitlin Hunter. I love Caitlin Hunter's designs. I mean, I'm wearing her design right now. This is the Novelli tee, and this one I made like actually I made this one on the machine with Greta. We tag team. Greta knit the color work at the bottom, and then I picked up and knit the body on the machine. And yeah, I've always loved Caitlin Hunter's patterns. So this one, Easy V, it's got a big V-neck shape to it. Looks like it would be really comfortable, easy to wear. And then it has all of this color work. I believe it's 3 contrast colors, and she's using Spin Cycle in here. So what I was thinking about doing was actually using my hand spun in the yoke. I already have this yarn spun up, and I haven't been using it. Ruth is saying, "What? We can do sweaters too?" Sure. I know, the whole idea was to make something like really small, an accessory that you could sort of finish very quickly within 2 weeks. I definitely will not finish the sweater in 2 weeks, but it's a way to get started at least with something. I think it would be fun to, just even get started, and you need a little bit of that momentum to get going. But yeah, I think using some handspun in the yoke, and then I have some mohair silk DK that I want to use for the body of the sweater. And so that is coming along. Yeah, and like Mrs. Unnecessary is saying, I love this neckline too. I think it's really wearable. I feel like a lot of the patterns that I've made by uh, Caitlin Hunter are very wearable and comfortable. So I really like it. So that is what is on my plate, and that's what I'm thinking about. So, let's talk a little bit about upcoming events now, because there are so many. And one of the reasons why there are so many is because we were doing a ton of sort of surveying people in the school. We've been surveying people, talking to people, and the thing that we have discovered is that people want to do more things together. People want to make more things together and do them at the same time together. So even like if you were to knit this Easy V sweater with me at the same time, I feel like that would be a really fun thing to do because it gives us momentum. We can all do it together, move forward, all of that kind of stuff. And so there's a little bit of this wanting to do more making along together, more studying along together. And specifically in the school, one of the things that came up is that we used to do these very, very intense study groups, and it would be like 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And we would sit down and week by week, we would do a study, and we were learning a ton of stuff. Like, I'm going to show you real quick. Like, if you pop into the school, we have this directory of groups that we created over the years. And so all of these study groups were full of people who were learning different skills. So, one summer we focused entirely on acid dyeing, and then another summer we focused entirely on rigid heddle weaving. We did natural dyeing for a while. We did spinning, tapestry, and so each one of these study groups was really very focused and a lot of learning. And people were leaving all of their notes, all of their discoveries, all of their explorations, experiments, and discoveries. They put them into these groups and share with each other. There's a ton of learning going on. And so we were worried that it was maybe too much for everybody. Maybe it was too much intensity and too much learning. But I think that people have been asking to do more of these things. And so, what we would like to do, because a couple of summers ago, at the studio, we did a natural dye study group. And, we dyed everything we mordanted all of our yarn and our fabric as a team, and then we dyed it together as a team. And then I would show pictures and videos of what people were dyeing at the studio, like when we did the indigo dyeing session, when we dyed color in pots, and we would share pots, all these kinds of things. It was really great to be able to do it together. And so this year, to coincide with a new class that we have coming out for the School of SweetGeorgia, which is all about dyeing larger volumes of stuff. So dyeing larger volumes of fiber, dyeing larger volumes of yarn. Those two courses are coming out this summer. And so with that, we thought we would do another acid dyeing study group at the studio and at the School of SweetGeorgia. So if you have ever been interested in learning how to dye your own fiber, your own spinning fiber, or your own yarn, I encourage you guys to come and check out the school, because this is what we're going to be doing this summer. We're going to be dyeing a whole bunch of spinning fiber, learning to hand paint larger volumes of spinning fiber. If you want to do a small amount of spinning fiber, that's fine too. We do everything from 100 grams to a pound. If you want to do more than that, that kind of thing. And later on in the summer, we're going to be doing dyeing yarn in terms of like if you want to dye enough yarn for a whole sweater's worth. So is that 4 skeins? Is it 8 skeins? How do you handle 8 skeins of yarn? 8 skeins of yarn in a dye pot makes that dye pot like 50 to 75 pounds with the water and everything, the metal pot, all of this kind of stuff. So how do you handle a pot that's 50 pounds of boiling water? What do you do? And so that's what a lot of this course is going to be about. So dyeing larger quantities, dyeing spinning fiber. And so we're going to do all of that at the studio and inside the School of SweetGeorgia and in these study groups here. And part of that is also that what we're thinking is that in July is Tour de Fleece. I've never officially done a Tour de Fleece team. Like Sweet Georgia's never had a Sweet Georgia, like a Sweet Georgia Tour de Fleece team, but we sort of kind of participate alongside and just spin alongside and just dedicate saying, every day through 3 weeks of July, just spin a little bit every day, spin 10 minutes a day. It's a good habit to start. And so that is also something that we want to do in July in the Discord channel. We're going to have just a whole chat, share about what you're doing with your Tour de Fleece spinning. Um, and then maybe we can like learn a little bit from each other as well, and just encourage each other just to do your 10 minutes a day. So looking at that, looking at I've stumbled upon these 3D printed bobbins for the e-spinners, for the nano e-spinner, for the EEW, for the Dreaming Robots e-spinners. I've stumbled on these 3D printed bobbins that come in gradient colors, and they're beautiful. And I feel like those bobbins, those colorful gradient bobbins, are going to make me want to spin on those e-spinners. And so that might be something that I'll do in July as well. So I'm going to have to share with you guys. Maybe I'll put that in the Discord, just the links to those gorgeous bobbins. I was showing Greta yesterday. I'm like obsessed with these bobbins and thinking, and then I even found that there are 3D printing plans where you can print your own bobbins for these machines. And so that has really captured my attention as well recently. So yeah, tour de fleece. So spin the fiber that you dye in June. The other thing that we have coming up, obviously, every year is our mystery knit along. And so that is coming along very soon. It's going to happen in August. It always comes in August. So mystery knit along is going to happen in August. Again, that's going to be in the Discord channel. And so we'll do that. And then in September, inside the school, we want to do another sort of spinning fiber group, spinning study group. This year, I would like it to be about spinning yarn to make socks, but I also want to lead sort of a, spinning from the very beginning kind of feeling. Like if you've never touched a spindle before, if you've never touched a wheel before, I think I want to do a couple of videos about how do you learn how to spin from the very beginning, but I want to do it with those colorful bobbins on the e-spinner. Yes. So that is one thing that we want to do. The other thing that I have an idea about, and this is going to be different from what we are already currently doing. But right now, inside the school, we have these crafternoons. So we have ongoing knitting meetups and weaving meetups or whatever. You just bring your stuff, and then you can sit and chat and work on all of these things together. And so Robin hosts one every other Monday in the school on Zoom. And then Vicky, who's here on the call, she hosts one once a month on a Saturday. And so these are times when you can come on Zoom and chat with other people who are making things. It's really fun. It's just like, it's nice. It's like having a knit night, but, together on Zoom. Now, I want to do something a little bit differently. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this first pilot session is going to be Friday, May 26th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And link is going to be in the school. So if you're part of the school, you can join this link. But the link is going to be for a virtual co-working session. And so the idea is that I know I have a lot of things that I need to weave. I have a lot of things I need to knit. I have like all these samples I want to make. And I don't know about you, but like so often the time does not come, like the time does not get carved out. I'm very much like that kind of person who's like, I have to make sure that all the kitchen is clean. I got to make sure that all my work is done. I got to make sure I've answered as many emails as I can. I got to make sure I have all the stuff done before I allow myself to go and do my crafts. And I think that that was the whole reason why these videos on YouTube started. It's called Taking Back Friday. The whole idea is to take back a chunk of your time and dedicate it to making things that you want to make, making things that bring you joy, bring you just, it just joy. And so part of it was, making these videos required me to make the time to sit and make these things so that I would have something to show. And that was kind of like my accountability. But it's still very difficult to find the time and carve out the time to do it. So I thought if we carve out the time and do a virtual co working session that is no chat, that is literally just going to be, we'll turn on the Zoom call and I'll be working on the things that I'm working on. And you can come and bring your project and you can work on the thing that you're going to be working on. And then we can just hopefully get more things done, get more things made, spend more time, just dedicate that time. And I'm hoping that it's kind of like when I say I'm going to be there, I will be there. And that's my accountability. I will be there. And so we'll see how this first session goes. And maybe what we'll do is like when you come, the first 5 minutes, we'll kind of like go around and everybody very quickly just say, for this 1 hour, what I really want to get done is blah, 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 blah. And then everybody mutes themselves and we'll go and do our work. And then at the end, before the time is up, the last 5 minutes, we'll just say, hey, what did you get done? What did you get stuck on? What do you need help with? And I'm hoping that that will really, really help people who are wanting to make things and really wanting to focus on achieving some crafty goals. And that's some of the things that I struggle with, and I wonder if you struggle with too. So May 26th, we're going to give this a try. And if it works, then maybe we'll do these a little bit more often. And then the next thing I wanted to mention about the upcoming events is that right now we are in a lot of conversations on our team about hosting another retreat. So we don't have an official name for it or anything like that, but we do have a retreat that we want to run most likely in 2024. And so we're still trying to figure out what the format is going to be like, what it's going to like, what kind of content we might put in, what the structure of the week might be like, but we want to do some sort of a retreat. The last time we did a retreat was 2019. And yeah, it's been a while. That'll be like 5 years since the last retreat. And I think that it's kind of amazing. All of this, the community that was there in 2019, it was wonderful. And I really, really look forward to the chance that we get to do all of this again and see each other again. Yeah. So if you are interested in hearing the news about an upcoming retreat, then please do let us know. Yes, yes, we're gonna do a retreat soon, soon. So, I believe we have created a sort of like an email list. So if you want to let us know that you're interested in the retreat idea or you want to learn more about it as we get more details, then we will send out an email to that list. And so we might have it available to pop in the chat, or otherwise we'll put it in the show notes afterwards, and then you can come and let us know about that. So that's all of the stuff that is going on. There's so many events coming up, but um, there's so many events because, we're looking at doing some dyeing, we're looking at doing some spinning, we're doing some knitting, all of these kinds of things. And so you can definitely pick and choose what you feel most, drawn to, most compelled about. Because I mean, I know this is a community of multi-craftual makers, and that is the struggle, is juggling which craft do I do now? And so we try to do them sequentially by seasons, and that's something that we do like to do. Oh, good. Oh, there it is. Okay, so Bridget posted it here in the chat. So there is a page that you can go to on the website with the link where you can subscribe to the email list if you are interested in hearing more about the retreat. So thank you so much to Bridget for putting that together. So that is available. We could talk about that some more. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Erlbacher homecoming. Now, I do want to stress that I have a full and complete video coming out for this later, because I did shoot a whole bunch of B-roll and shoot like a factory tour and all this kind of stuff. And so I have a lot more to say. I have a lot more to say about this event, but it was amazing. I wanted to absolutely thank the whole Erlbacher team. I met Grayson and Larry and Kim, who was managing my order and all the emails back and forth. And I met Rod, who designed the table that we use. And I met Daryl, who like worked on the machine. And like all of these people are so, so wonderful. And they were really very, very kind and generous. And just the hospitality that they showed me was amazing. And so I had an amazing time at this event. It was really amazing. And so I have to capture how amazing it was in a more complete and full video. So that is definitely coming. But I wanted to also thank a lot of the people that I met and that I got to just sit and learn from. A lot of people I just sat and watched them knit. They just shared interesting techniques with me. I got to sit with a number of people who I had the chance to learn from, and it was great. Like just being able to sit and watch little things like how somebody transfers stitches from a cylinder needle to a ribber needle and how elegant that could look. I learned that there are like at least 4 different ways to graft your toes. I had always thought, I put them on double pointed needles, and this is how I graft toes because that's how I learned from a photo tutorial 15 years ago. And I just thought, this is how you do it. And then recently on YouTube, somebody left me a comment saying, oh, you could learn how to graft toes from the inside out, from the purl side off of 2 needles. And that's called the Finchley graft. And so I started looking into that and giving that a try. But then I also discovered from the sock crankers that you can just graft your toes from waste yarn. And it never occurred to me that you would do that because I was always a hand knitter. I didn't have waste yarn. There was never knitting on waste yarn. Why would I graft from waste yarn? But because sock crankers crank waste yarn onto the end of their socks, like so, this yellow yarn is all their waste yarn. You can just pick up your stitches right from here. And so you could do that from the knit side. You could also do that from the purl side. So there's so many different ways to do some techniques. And so that I found actually super interesting as well. Um, the other thing I learned about was a bunch of add-ins, and I'll show those to you guys in a second. But I did go to the Erlbacher Crankin with a goal in mind. I have been, like I mentioned, I've been making stockinette socks with a hung hem for months now, since July, and I was doing really, really great with that. But I wanted to get really, really consistent with being able to use my ribber. So the ribber is something that you can add onto your machine, and that gives you the ability to add purl stitches to your knitting. Otherwise, you're knitting a stockinette tube. You're knitting just knitting, knitting, knitting all around. If you want to be able to add purl stitches, then you can do ribbing. So I was doing some ribbing at home and I would try to make a rib sock and then I would take the ribber off and then all of a sudden I would notice that there's all these drop stitches and things were not working correctly and everything. So I went to the ribber class and had Daryl look at the machine and everything. And so you can kind of see like this is my ribbing in waste yarn. It looks pretty icky. It looks kind of bad because there's like holes. You can see I dropped a stitch right here. So there's a big hole. And then it was not knitting consistently. So it would just like every so often, it would drop a stitch and then it would knit the stitch again. And so it just looked really, really messy. And so I had sat with Pete Oswald and he tweaked my machine a little bit. And then Daryl also helped tweak my machine a little bit. And so I got to the point where I was able to make ribbing without dropping any stitches. So you can see down here, this is my 1x1 ribbing. This is my 3x1 ribbing, and it looks all good, no mistakes. So that was all great. So then I tried to knit a full-on sock. The first sock that I made, again, had some problems with inconsistencies. And so again, there's actually, at the Erlbacher Kranken event, they set up a small little machine shop in the corner where they have machines where they can actually come and fix your machine. And so Daryl had taken my ribber and he went and buffed down some of the rough spots in order to kind of fix this issue with this particular stitch not knitting consistently. And so after that, I was able to make a completely and fully ribbed sock. This one has no mistakes. This one is great. So this one starts with the 1x1 ribbing and then move to 3x1 ribbing. There's a little bit of a pre-heel here where there's ribbing on one side, but then stockinette on the other side. There is my heel and then the foot and then toe. And so I was very, very proud to have made this. And then I went to dinner and had a drink and came back and tried to knit the second sock and then dropped a whole bunch of stitches. And so I'm going to have to try and make these again. But I think I've learned the ins and outs of my machine a little bit better so I can hopefully I just need to practice more. I just need to practice more to get all of this happening. But it was really, really amazing. The other thing that I learned was about Lycra. So when I first started knitting these CSM socks, people had mentioned knitting in Lycra, and Lycra is a stretchy synthetic material that pulls in your fabric a little bit. So when I was talking about how I was trying to make socks that really fit to your foot, that they conform to your foot, that they're really elastic, the Lycra helps with that, but I didn't have access to Lycra. So you can buy Lycra online, but we are in Canada here, and Lycra costs $20 for a cone of Lycra, and then it costs like $40 for shipping. So it's good to go to these Crankin events where you can hopefully buy some of these supplies directly. So this is a cone of cobweb Lycra that I bought, and maybe you can see really up close. You can see what that looks like. It's super stretchy, and when you stretch it out, it becomes that fine. It looks like dental floss, and then when you let go of it, all of it, it looks like boucle because it's super loopy and stringy and all that kind of stuff. So this stuff, when you hold this together with your yarn, then it helps make that fabric much more elastic. So you can add this, and there's another there's a spot on your yarn mast where you can carry this. But in order to help separate the lycra from the yarn that you're using and have it not tangle, one of the things you can add, this is like a third party aftermarket add-on. This is a yarn bar, a lycra bar. And so this is just like a aluminum bar that you can buy from the Yarn Mafia. It's called theyarnmafia.com. And basically you just screw this onto your yarn mast, and then you put your lycra through here, and it just keeps it separate from your yarn, your main sock yarn, so that the two things don't get tangled. And so I have made a couple of socks here with the lycra in it. So these are my socks. This is actually Tough Love sock in Spacewalk. I love this color. But, the purple color in the lycra, it does add a tiny bit of a color effect, kind of like a hazy, heathered look, depending on what color your stuff is. So I know that because I only bought one cone of lycra and it happens to be purple. Basically, everything that I knit will have a tinge of purple to it from now on if I'm going to use lycra in the socks. So these are the socks that I've made with the lycra. This one has been washed and this one has not yet been washed. And the one that has been washed is very slightly smaller in diameter. So it's just sucked in the fabric a little bit more. But it's also super stretchy, very elastic, and it feels like it bounces back a little bit more. So I want to do some much more experimentation with this and see how it goes, see how it wears. I'm going to do definitely like a fuller video on these add-ins and things like that and how lycra affects everything. But this is one of the things that I learned. If you don't want to carry cobweb lycra into your project, there's Jim Grant, who I met from the Good Karma Yarn and Soap Company. He makes his own yarn, like literally spins his own yarn like a mill. He spins his own yarn and then it's hand dyed by his wife. And then they make these. They call it socks yarn. And they have lycra blended into the fiber before it gets spun. So the yarn itself is already very elastic because it has the lycra in it. And so I also cranked a pair of socks with his yarn. And so this one, you can see hopefully, there's a difference. This one has not been washed yet, and this one has been washed. It looks like it changes color. It looks like the lycra almost i- the color of the lycra, which was maybe white, maybe heathered or something like that, maybe it's just washed back a little bit in some way. So the color is more vibrant after the sock has been washed. And then it's also a little bit narrower as well. So you can see that there's a difference in the width of the sock. So you can see right here, it's about a half an inch difference, really. Um, so there is a stretchy sock. This is before washing, but I just wanted to show you a before and after in order to see what it looks like. So, I mean, you could get this sock yarn with the lycra in it and hand knit socks from it as well. You don't have to use a CSM. It just happens to be that he likes CSM knitting as well. But yeah, that's something interesting that I'd never really thought too much about, like adding lycra into your socks in order to make them more bouncy, more stretchy, and fit better on your feet. The other thing that I came across was this. This is Kevlar, which is used in just it's used in bulletproof vests. It's used in a number of things that they say, what is it for? Like, yeah, a lot of motorcycle gear, basically for protection because it's very, very, very strong material. And so I bought a cone of this from Celeste. Celeste I don't think she has an online store anywhere. I found her, she's in a Facebook groups with the CSM knitters and things like that. But she had a bunch of cones of this available as well. So Kevlar that came in tan color, gray color, and creamy kind of color. So I got some of this and I'm going to try. Some people I've heard take the Kevlar and they knit it through the whole sock, and other people are knitting it just in the heels and the toes to make super, super strong heels and toes. So that is very, very interesting. So yeah, Amanda's asking, I wonder if an opposing ply yarn would work okay on a CSM. I actually don't see why not. I think whatever can be folded into the channel of the cylinder should knit in your CSM. But that's one of the things that we can definitely experiment with in September. I want to do that study group on studying spinning yarn for socks, spinning handspun for socks, and just seeing like all the different yarn constructions that you could use in order to make a better wearing, harder wearing sock. I think that there's a lot of things to explore around there because for right now, I've still been making 3-ply traditional sock yarn to put in the CSM, and there's more to do. And I know like if anybody is wanting to do that as well, to try spinning your own yarn for knitting socks, either by hand or in a CSM or something like that, that's something we want to do in September. So Ruth, you want a Kevlar sweater now? Yeah. So that's something to try as well. I don't know, I looked online and I can't find this anywhere to buy. So the only place I've ever found it is from Celeste. So we'll see. Maybe you can go to a crankin and meet her and find this Kevlar as well. So that is the sock stuff that is happening. I'm continuing to make socks. I love it. It's super fun. If you want to do it, I encourage you to reach out. I will chat with you about making socks with a CSM. But also, I discovered that there is a website called the Circular Sock Knitting Machine Society. This is a whole group of people who love sock knitting and have been keeping sock knitting going for a long, long time. And they basically have a directory of all the different crank-ins that you can attend. So you can like look on their website, look in the directory, find an event that is close to you and see if you can join. And it's very, very helpful to be able to see somebody do this in real life. You guys are wondering, Celeste who? It's Celeste Angelo with 2 L's. And you can look in a lot of the Facebook groups. A lot of the circular sock knitting people are all on Facebook in various groups. And so she is there. And I don't know, yeah, she did not seem to have a web shop that I could find, but can reach out and find out about that. So, what is next? Like I said, I'm traveling tonight, and one of the things I want to do, I'm going to start on the ribbing for this Easy V. I feel like last time I did ribbing for a sweater, it took like 5 hours. So, we'll see how this goes. But last time on the live stream, I showed you the Halu sweater that I was knitting, and I love the texture of the Halu sweater, but I think you guys all confirmed it for me, and I sort of confirmed it that the texture of the lace and the fuzzy mohair and the high contrast between the base color and the lighter color, and it was just kind of obscuring a bit of the lace. And so I think I was taking a bit of a pause on that particular sweater. I love the combination of the yarn and the yarns together feel amazing. And so I think I might rescue the yarn from that and then make some sort of a poncho or some sort of a wrap with that because it just is cozy and warm and I love it. So I might ditch that sweater. I might start this sweater. But yeah, one of these things is this ongoing concern about, hand knitting and how it feels with my hands. And so I don't know if Collage knew this or not, but Collage reached out to me to see if I would try some of their needles. This is Collage square knitting needles. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these. They are literally square. The shaft of the needle is square. And so the idea is that when you knit with these square needles, you're exerting more pressure on the flat portion of the shaft, and that allows more efficient transfer of pressure as you're knitting it, which means less pressure is needed in order to form your stitches. That's the concept behind these square needles. So Collage sent me a pair of the circular knitting needles with a firm cable and also one with the soft cable. And so I'm going to give those a try and see how it feels with my hands. It's a bit of an experiment. So those are the circular needles. They also sent me some DPNs for sock weight. So these are the 2.25 millimeter sock weight needles. This is what I use for knitting hand knit socks. So I'm going to give that a bit of a try. So Star Athena, you're saying you love the square needles. I am curious about them because I've never really given it a real try to see how it would affect my hands and if it would help or not. But this is 100% like one of the things that I would love to be able to do, because if I can actually knit with these, that would change my life. That would mean that I could still hand knit. They also sent me a crochet hook, which also has a square handle. It has this nice brass colored, I love this color combination right now. This brass and walnut is my favorite color combination, but it has this squared off handle and it's supposed to make it easier to work with. And so I'm thinking that on the plane, I'm going to take a whole bunch of sock yarn and sock yarn bits and then do some granny squares. I can make granny squares on an airplane. So maybe do that with this square crochet hook and see how all of that goes. So that is what I'm going to do. I've only tried them for a hat and the gauge was very, very even. Yeah, so I'm going to give this a try and see how it works. And I will report back on how it works with my hands. Because I know that I've heard from a number of people that they're starting to have trouble with their hands as well. And I don't know why. I don't know why. It's not contagious, I swear. I don't like this epidemic of hearing about people who are having wrist pain and hand pain and arm pain and all these kinds of things. It's very challenging when what you do is you work with your hands all day and you are making things with your hands. And so to have your hands not be able to work is quite a struggle. So I'm hoping that these square needles, square crochet hooks would be some sort of a solution for that. So that is pretty much everything for today. It's quite a bit of stuff going on. We have color work things going on. We have machine knitting things going on. We have CSM socks being made. We're going to make some granny squares. I know, it is a lot, isn't it? I'm curious to hear what you guys are working on. What are you working on these days? What is keeping you busy? What is keeping you really excited? What do you want to learn? And what are your sort of challenges? What's been happening for you that has been a bit of a challenge? And whether it's your hands hurting or whether it's time, whether it's juggling, spinning and dyeing and all of the different things that you want to do. Yeah, I'm totally interested in hearing about that. You guys can join us in the Discord. I try to check the Discord every day and pop in and see what you guys are doing and making and posting. And so it's been a really, really neat place to connect with everyone. So yeah, I encourage you guys to find us there. Thank you so much for sticking with today's live stream. I know you guys probably had to hunt and go find the new link for it. The Rigid Heddle class is going to be available soon. I think it's next month. I'm pretty sure it's next month. I don't have the schedule in front of us, but you can go to the schoolofsweetgeorgia.com/roadmap. And that page will show you when all of the classes are scheduled to release. So yes, please do find us there. The Rigid Heddle class is going to be really cool. Yeah, fantastic. Rita's saying, I'd love to know. I have arthritis and bone autoimmune. I'm looking at a knitting machine. Yes. Yeah, I feel like knitting machines, I feel like knitting machines are going to have their day. They're going to come back, but somebody needs to manufacture those knitting machines. That's the challenge, I think. Roseanne, you're making a lace pie shawl right now. I love pie shawls. Yes. Oh, thanks for posting the link. So Vicky just posted the link to the roadmap. And yes, the rigid heddle class with the 2 heddles is coming out in June. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's always nice to be here and to see you guys on the chat and to connect with you. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you guys. All right, I will let you all go. Have a wonderful, fantastic day. Have a wonderful, fantastic month. I will see you guys in June. All right, bye everyone.